Hey everyone, sorry this week's update's a little late, but things are starting to come together, so it's been kind of a busy weekend. Let me catch you up to speed with what's going on with the engine build. Last Friday, I took my block and rotating assembly up to Seattle, and I dropped it off with Chuck at C&D Engine Performance. He's going to do the final machine work after the sleeves are put in and assemble the short block for me. And I gotta thank Aaron Boyevich for turning me on to that guy, because that C&D Engine Performance in Seattle is pure old school performance engine building. It's awesome. You walk in the door and it's like you're been transported back to the 60s. There's blocks, cranks, just heads everywhere. All the machinists are wearing full-length coveralls. Chuck really knows what he's doing. He's got a lot of experience, and after talking to him for 2 minutes, you know that your engine's in good hands, and it's going to get the personal attention that it deserves. So I'm really excited to be having him do the short block assembly for me. While the short block's out of my hands for a bit, I just turned my attention to the cylinder heads. I really wanted to have Tony at Race IQ do a full CNC port and valve job on it, but he's backed up too far right now. So some of my local racing buddies turned me on to a place here in town called Aluminum Head Rebuilders, and Charlie there is going to get me fixed up and do a good multi-angle performance valve job, and then a little bit of hand porting on the heads. We pulled a couple valves out down there the other day, and these cylinder heads really aren't, they're pretty good from the factory. So just a little bit of bowl cleanup and cleaning some of the transitions up by hand is all I'm going to do. I'm going to skip the CNC port job, at least for this season. I might get back to that next year. We'll see how the car performs. But I think I got my heads figured out. And then the other thing that happened this weekend is my cams finally came in. So those are I'm pretty excited about that. Let's take a closer look at those. Let me start by giving you a little background on my thought process and how I arrived at where I am with the cams. Since I'm running a standalone ECU on this car, it's a Holley Dominator, I'm not limited by the ECU tuning as far as what cams I can run. And so I wasn't comfortable with just buying a set of off-the-shelf cams that don't have any published specs, because I haven't seen anybody yet who publishes the specs on the Mercedes cams they sell. So I wasn't comfortable with that. I wanted to go seek out somebody who could do, something custom. So I called a couple places about doing regrinds on the stock cams. And I think I talked to Brian Crower, and he said he could do that. There might be some limitations as far as how much lift you can get out of those. But I sort of scoured the internet, and then I came across a place in the UK called Cat Cams, and they actually do have a small catalog of cams for the M113 where they do publish their specs. Apparently they have cams for a lot of different, mostly European engines, but they had, I don't know, 8 or 10 different cam grinds for NA M113s and a couple turbo conversion grinds, but they didn't have anything specific to a positive displacement blower. So what I did was I got on a group chat with all my racing buddies, and we hashed things out for quite a bit, and then I went on YouTube and I found every interview with Brian Tooley that I could find where he talked about how they do their cam grinds, specifically with regards to positive displacement blowers. And I took all that information and I went back to the Cat Cams catalog and I looked at what they had, and I kind of came up with my own semi-custom grind. I'm calling it semi-custom because what I did was I took 2 lobe profiles from their catalog that were on different cams, and I stuck them together on the same cam, and then I had them, the lobe separation set to the way I wanted it. So in the end, I didn't come up with my own custom lobe profiles or anything, but I did mix and match existing lobe profiles onto a cam the way I wanted it. And Cat Cams will do that for you. I had problems getting a hold of them directly. So I ended up going through Tony at Race IQ and had him source them for me. He was helpful with that. So if you're looking for a set of cams, I'm going to show you the specs on these, but you gotta remember that these aren't going to probably work with a factory Mercedes ECU, at least not without a bunch of tuning specific for them. So don't run out and, you know, get a set of these and slap them in your car and think they're going to work on a stock ECU. But if you're doing something, you know, cool and fun like a standalone or carbureted, this is a good place to look for cams as far as I'm concerned. So here are the details on what I ended up getting. First of all, here's the cam itself. It's a nice billet unit. It's not a regrind of an OEM cam. It's billet, like I said, and you can see back here I've been having to clearance the cam bridges because the lobes have enough lift that they were interfering with the bridges. So I've got to do a little custom grinding on this, but they do clear the heads just fine. I measured, and the closest they get to anything on the heads is right here. But there's still like 20 thousandths clearance there, which I think should be fine. And here's the specs for my cam. So if you want to read those, go ahead and pause. And the gist of it is, for a positive displacement camshaft, you want very little overlap. So you can see there's hardly any, and it's all at less than 1 millimeter of lift. And then you want your exhaust side to get the gases out as fast as possible. So there's more lift and more duration on the exhaust than there is on the intake. Very little overlap and a pretty wide lobe separation. I think the overall lobe separation works out to 118.5 on this. And the other thing I want to say is I wish everybody would do their cam specs like this. Being able to visually see the way the duration events work, the events work with the duration and lift, is awesome. So, I don't know. Other cam companies do that. Yeah, I guess that's all I've got for now. This upcoming week, I'm helping a friend out with some wiring on his Nova. I don't think I'm going to be doing anything else on the Mercedes for, I don't know, a while. I might get out here and try and get that trailer hitch put on sometime the next week or two. So I'll come back with an update as soon as I have one. I don't know if it'll be a week from now or 2 weeks, but I'll let you know how things are going. Thanks. Bye.